My stepson said I wasn't real family, so I stopped acting like it. I canceled his wedding, took back every dime, and walked out. Now he's broke, divorced, and posting sob stories online. But I don't owe him a thing. Hey Reddit! I spent 12 years raising a kid who wasn't mine, taught him, fed him, built a future for him. Then one day he decided I was just the guy who pays for stuff. Fine. I walked away. But they weren't done trying to drag me back. Before I get there, let me start from the beginning. I'm Jack Callahan, 34. I run Callahan and Sons with my brother Frank. We started with a beat-up pickup and 2 shovels. That was it. You learn a lot when the bank won't loan you a dime and you still gotta eat. I own my house outright. I fix my own sink, patch my own roof, sharpen my own mower blades. Not fancy, but everything works. I met Laura at a community cleanup. City wanted volunteers while we resodded a park that got torn up by a summer league tournament. I was laying lines and rolling out sod. She was out there with a trash grabber and a contractor bag, ponytail stuffed through a ball cap, sunburn on her nose. Kept moving, didn't complain. We traded a couple jokes about people who leave snack wrappers 10 feet from a trash can. She laughed, asked if I was the guy behind the big flower beds in front of the library. I was. She said her kid noticed them. That's how I met Eli. 9 years old, skinny, hiding behind her leg with a sketchbook pressed to his chest. I offered him a sports drink out of my cooler. He took it and just stared at me like I'd handed him a snake. No thanks, no smile. Laura said sorry. His dad left when he was 4. He's not great with new people. I nodded. Okay, baggage, fair enough. We kept running into each other. I'd see them at the park, or she'd stop by Rusty's diner where I grabbed breakfast before job sites. We started talking, then coffee, then dinner. 6 months in, the school called me middle of a Tuesday. Secretary asked for Mr. Callahan. I'm thinking wrong number. Nope. I was down as Eli's emergency contact. He fell from the climbing thing on the playground. Possible broken arm. I dropped a rake where I stood and drove over with mulch stuck to my boots. Found him in the nurse's office, cheeks wet, trying to be tough. I said, "Hey, bud, that thing jump at you?" He gave me half a smile. At the ER, I sat on that plastic chair and held his good hand while we waited for Laura. It wasn't broken. Bad sprain, sling for a couple weeks. Right before Laura walked in, he whispered, "Thanks for coming, Jack." Quiet voice, like admitting a secret. After that, he started hanging around my garage when I sharpened blades. I taught him to throw a baseball. Kid had all arm, no legs. We worked at it. Saturdays turned into Rusty's. He drowned pancakes in syrup while I sketched job plans on napkins. "Can you make our yard look like the library?" he asked. "Maybe not that big," I said, "but we can make it clean." We built a treehouse. Took 3 weekends. He swung a hammer like it owed him money and smashed his thumb once. He sucked in air, eyes glassy, but didn't cry. "You're fine," I said, and he was, proud of it. We planted a little garden, tomatoes and peppers. He checked them every morning like guarding treasure. One night he was at the kitchen table, school papers everywhere. 10 years old then. "Dad, can you help me with this?" I froze like my boots glued to the floor. "What did you call me?" He looked up, actually confused. "Dad." I didn't make a speech, just nodded and pulled up a chair. After he went to bed, I wrote the date in my notebook. October 12th. Me and Laura got married when he was 11. Small church, coffee and cake in the basement after. Eli wore a little suit, serious as a judge. Took his job as ring bearer like he was guarding the crown jewels. After the photos, he hugged me and said, "I'm glad I have a real dad now." I had to turn my head for a second. He didn't see it, but that line hit something I didn't know was sitting there. I opened a college fund that winter. $5,000 to start, then $200 a month, every month, no excuses. I like numbers that move in the right direction. By his 16th birthday, it sat at 17,000. Meanwhile, I covered the day-to-day. Cleats when he played ball, paper and pens when he got into drawing, SAT prep because he said he needed it. When he turned 16, I found a Honda Civic with more miles than style, changed the fluids myself, put him on my insurance, paid the first 6 months so he could get steady. We kept the Rusty's routine. Sometimes he'd come help on a Saturday job. Nothing heavy, just spreading mulch, dragging a rake, running cold drinks to the guys. He liked the gear. He'd pepper me with questions. "What's that machine do? Why do you cut that edge first? How do you price a job?" I showed him the basics. "You bid the work honest," I told him. "Promise what you can deliver. Then deliver it cleaner than you promised." And by the end of that first summer helping, he was better with a line trimmer than some grown men I'd hired. We came home late one hot Sunday, shirt stuck to us, hands beat up from shovels. Sat on the back porch with lemonade, Both of us quiet, dirt under our nails. He looked at the truck in the driveway and then at me. Think I could run the business someday? Hell yeah, kid, I said. Callahan and Sons. You'd be the Sons part. He grinned like he just unlocked a level. I didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. High school has a way of changing kids, but I didn't expect it to change the way my own kid said my name. Eli turned 15, and somewhere between summer break and sophomore year, Dad disappeared. First time it happened, we were at the dinner table. Jack, pass the salt. I froze mid-bite. Laura didn't even look up from her plate. It was like she didn't hear the difference. I did. It wasn't just the name. It was everything. Doors shut more often. Headphones in even when no music was playing. Conversations turned into grunts or one-word answers. If I asked about school, he'd shrug. If I asked where he was going, I'd get out. The kid who used to show me sketches and ask to tag along on jobs now acted like speaking to me was a chore. Then came the little jabs that didn't sound like much on their own, but added up. At school, a permission form came home. I noticed he'd crossed out father, Jack Callahan, and written guardian. Just like that. Like those years of tree houses, pancakes, and hospital visits didn't matter. Laura told me not to overthink it. He's just a teenager. Don't take it personal. Easy to say when it wasn't her name being scratched out on forms. Then the asks started piling up. Sneakers, phones, trips, insurance. $1,200 a month on average. I started keeping track in a notebook just to see what it all looked like. Not a single thank you. And then Tom showed up again. Not physically, just texts and random calls. After being gone for over a decade, he started sending Eli $50 here, $100 there. Just enough to make noise. And suddenly Dad was Tom again. My dad says I should apply to art school. My dad thinks you're too strict about grades. Tom didn't know what Eli's grades even were, but apparently he understood him. One night, I walked past Eli's room and heard him talking to a friend. Jack's so annoying. Always asking where I'm going, what I'm doing. Yeah, he pays for everything, but that's what parents do. My real dad gets me. I didn't go in. I didn't say anything. I just stood there and realized maybe I wasn't his dad anymore. Maybe I was just the guy footing the bill. Around that time, Caleb joined our crew. 19, just out of trade school, trying to figure out his next step. First week on the job, he was showing up 10 minutes early, asking questions nobody else bothered with. Hey, boss, can you show me how to read these blueprints? Boss, how do you price something like this? He called me boss with respect I hadn't felt in my own house for years. I started teaching him everything, how to quote jobs, maintain gear, deal with clients who try to haggle. He soaked it up. It felt good, showing someone who actually cared how this business worked. I tried offering Eli the same. One afternoon, I asked if he wanted to learn how to bid a landscaping contract. Nah, I'm good, he said, without looking up from his phone. Tom says you overcharge anyway. That was the last time I brought it up. 2 days later, I showed Caleb how to do it. He took notes and asked questions. The contrast couldn't have been louder. By the time Eli turned 17, the pattern was set. He'd pop into the kitchen, ask for money, and vanish again. The thank yous were gone. The respect was gone. The kid who once talked about running the business didn't want anything to do with it. Or me. One night, I sat in my truck after work with my notebook open, flipping through the pages. $47,000 spent over 7 years. That didn't include the mortgage, the food, the lights that stayed on, just extras, sneakers, trips, tech, art classes, insurance, all of it. Eli walked past the truck on his way to meet friends, earbuds in, head down. Didn't even glance in my direction. I watched him disappear down the sidewalk and shut the notebook. I used to tell myself it was just a phase, that he'd grow out of it, that one day he'd remember everything I'd done and appreciate it. But watching him walk away like that, I knew better. It wasn't a phase. It was who he'd decided I was now. And who I was, apparently, was just Jack. By the time Eli turned 21, I'd paid for 4 years of college and watched him walk across a stage with a degree in hand. $60,000 in tuition, books, and housing, every penny handled without complaint. Right after graduation, he proposed to Hannah. She was 23, a pediatric nurse, polite, level-headed, the kind of person who sends thank you notes for birthday dinners. I liked her right away. I paid for their engagement party, restaurant rental, food, the works. People toasted, took photos, and Hannah's family kept thanking me. Tom didn't show up. Not a text, not a card. I can't say I was surprised. That's when I decided on something I'd been thinking about for years. I wanted Eli to carry the Callahan name. I'd been his father in every way that mattered, but I wanted to make it official. Legally, permanently. My lawyer drew up the adoption papers. Everything was ready. I figured it would be the best wedding gift I could give him. A couple of months before the wedding, I asked him to meet me for lunch at Rusty's, our old Saturday spot. He walked in wearing a button-up, and that distracted half-there look he always had now. We ordered burgers, and small talk lasted about 3 minutes. Then I slid a folder across the table. Eli, I've been your dad for 12 years, I said. You're starting your own family now. I want to make this official. I want you to be my son legally. The Callahan name. It's yours if you want it. He opened the folder and stared at the paperwork like it was written in another language. His face didn't light up, didn't show a hint of emotion, just this weird, tight expression. Wow, that's... I need to think about it, he said. Sure, I answered. Take your time. No pressure. But there was pressure, and he knew it. My heart was sitting there on that table next to the ketchup bottle. About a week later, I walked through the kitchen while he was in the shower. His phone lit up on the counter. A text preview from Tom. Don't let him pressure you into that adoption bullshit. I didn't go digging. I didn't touch the phone. But my stomach turned. Tom knew, which meant Eli had told him. He hadn't given me an answer yet, but he'd already talked it over with the guy who disappeared when he was 4. A few days after that, Eli came to find me. Hey, about the adoption thing, he started. Yeah? I appreciate it, but I don't think I can do it. Why not? He didn't meet my eyes. It feels like I'd be erasing Tom. He's still my dad, you know. It wouldn't be fair to him. I nodded, folded the papers, and put them back in the folder. Your call, kid. The man who abandoned him for 17 years mattered more than the one who showed up every day. That night I told Laura. She was washing dishes. He said no because of Tom, I said. She sighed. He's just confused, Jack. Give him time. Laura, Tom sends him $20 at Christmas. That's the guy he's worried about erasing. You're being dramatic. It's just a piece of paper. It's not, I said. But okay. And in that moment, I knew she was never going to stand on my side when it came to Eli. I tried once more to talk to him. Asked if he'd ride along on a big office landscaping job so we could talk. We were parked in the truck, eating sandwiches between stops. You're about to be a husband, I said. I want to make sure you're set up right. I know, he said. I appreciate everything you've done. Do you? Because it feels like I'm just the guy who pays for stuff. That's not fair, Jack, he said, defensive. Then tell me what I am to you. Silence. He stared out the window like I wasn't even there. I don't know what you want me to say, he finally muttered. Nothing, I said. Forget it. That was the end of that conversation. Despite how hollow everything felt, I kept paying. $58,000 sat in the wedding fund. I signed checks. Venue, caterer, photographer, band. $21,000 gone before I even blinked. Hannah thanked me every time I wrote a check or showed her the progress on the arch. Eli just nodded. No excitement, no gratitude. One night I was in the garage, sanding the arch around midnight, hands cramped, sawdust stuck to my shirt. Frank stopped by to drop off some tools. He looked at the arch and then at me. You're really going all out for this, huh? He's my son, I said. Frank didn't answer right away. Is he, though? Because from where I'm standing, he doesn't act like it. I didn't respond. Just kept sanding. I built that arch the same way I'd built everything for him, with hope that one day he'd see what it all meant. He never did. By the time Eli's wedding was a few months away, Callahan and Sons was in the best shape it had ever been. We'd grown from me and Frank in a rusted-out pickup to a 12-person crew with contracts across the county. We handled school campuses, HOA maintenance, and even a golf course that cut checks so big I double-checked the totals. We grossed close to $850,000 that year, and after payroll and expenses, I cleared around $120,000. Not bad for a company that started with 2 shovels and no backup plan. I'd always imagined the company's name being more than just mine. Callahan and Sons was supposed to mean something, a business that outlived me. My plan was simple. Once Eli was married and settled, I'd offer him 30% of the company and teach him everything he'd need to take it over someday. I had a lawyer draft up the paperwork and planned to present it at the rehearsal dinner. A real legacy move. 3 months before the wedding, I called Eli to the office. He showed up in a hoodie and sneakers, leaning back in the chair like he'd rather be anywhere else. I put the partnership agreement in front of him. I want to talk about your future, I said. After the wedding. After you and Hannah are settled. He skimmed the first page. What is this? 30% of Callahan and Sons. You'd come on full-time, learn the ropes, and when I retire, the business would be yours. His face didn't show excitement, just to look like I'd put him in a corner. Wow, that's really generous. You told me once you wanted to run the business someday, I reminded him. On the porch, remember? Yeah, I mean, I was a kid. I didn't really know what I wanted. What do you want now? I'm not sure. Can I think about it? Of course. But inside, I knew how this was going to end. A week later, I walked past his laptop on the kitchen table. It was open and a group chat was on the screen. I didn't go digging. I didn't have to. The words were right there. Jack offered me a partnership in his landscaping company. Bro, that's clutch. Free money. Yeah, but I don't want to be stuck doing landscaping forever, lol. What's wrong with landscaping? It's not my dream. Tom says I should go for something creative. Design, maybe. Tom? Your real dad? Yeah, he gets me. Jack just wants me to be a glorified lawn boy. I mean, he's been paying for your life, though. That's what parents do. It's not like I owe him my whole future. True. If I take the partnership, I'm tied to Jack forever. I just want to get through the wedding and figure out my own path. I took photos of the screen with my phone and walked away. 2 days later, I promoted Caleb. He'd been with us 4 years by then. Showed up early, never complained, asked questions that mattered. I called him into the office and offered him a crew leader job. 55,000 base salary plus profit sharing. His eyes watered. Boss, I don't even know what to say. I won't let you down. That's all I need, I said. Watching him walk out of the office with his shoulders squared, I thought, this is what gratitude looks like? Eli will never understand it. The next week, I told Eli I'd seen the messages. I didn't sugarcoat it. I saw the group chat. The part where you called my life's work glorified lawn work. His face drained of color. Jack, I didn't mean it like, let me finish. I built this company from nothing. No loans, no help. Most kids would kill for an opportunity like this. I appreciate it, I do, but it's not what I want to do. All I see is you taking and giving nothing back. I never asked you to do all this, he shot back. You're right, I said. You didn't. I chose to, because I thought you were my son. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. When Laura found out, she took his side immediately. You can't force him to take over your business, Jack. Maybe Tom understands him better. That sentence hung between us for a long time. Yeah, I said finally. Maybe he does. I sat in my truck that night with the partnership paperwork on the passenger seat and the screenshots on my phone. I looked at both for a long time before ripping the agreement in half. I texted my lawyer. Cancel the transfer. Change of plans. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger burns out. What I felt now was something different. A clean, cold sort of clarity. I'd been building a legacy for someone who saw it as a prison sentence. I was done. The rehearsal dinner was 3 weeks away. I was still writing checks. Venue, catering, photographer, band. The arch was almost finished in the garage. Everything looked the same on the surface. But something in me had shifted. He'd said no to my name. He'd said no to my business. And here I was, still paying for his wedding like nothing had changed. But it had. I knew it. And deep down, I think he knew it too. That was the last time I'd ever spend a dime on a future he didn't want. A month before the wedding, we were doing a final walkthrough of the venue. Me, Laura, Eli, and Hannah. The coordinator walked us through every detail. Seating arrangements, catering setup, lighting plans. Everything was ready. All balances due in 2 weeks. On the surface, it looked like a perfect wedding coming together. Underneath, I felt like I was standing in a stranger's event. We wrapped up and started walking to the parking lot. That's when Eli said it. Casual, like he was talking about the weather. Oh, by the way, I asked Tom to be my best man. I stopped walking. What? Yeah, he said, scrolling through his phone. Hannah's got her sister as maid of honor, so I'm having Tom. Ethan's still my groomsman. I stared at him. What about me? He looked up, confused like the thought hadn't even crossed his mind. You'll sit with Mom. It's not a big deal. Hannah's eyes flicked between us, clearly uncomfortable. Laura didn't say a word. I just nodded and walked toward the car. The drive home was silent for a while. Finally, Laura spoke. Are you upset about the best man thing? What do you think? I said. He's just trying to reconnect with Tom. It's healthy. Healthy is fine, I said. Disrespect isn't. When we got home, I went straight to my office. I pulled out the stack of reminders that had been sitting in my desk drawer for months. Screenshots of the group chat where I was called a glorified lawn boy, the adoption papers he rejected, the partnership agreement I'd torn in half. Then I opened my banking app. $40,000 in the wedding fund. $18,000 already gone on deposits. I thought about every moment that had led here. The ER visit, Saturday breakfasts, college tuition, the treehouse. Every single time I'd shown up while Tom vanished. And now Tom, the man who hadn't even been around for birthdays, was the best man. I didn't stay angry for long. Something colder took its place. A simple decision that I was done playing a part in a story I clearly wasn't part of anymore. That night, I started making calls. I called the venue. I need to cancel our reservation. They told me I'd lose the $8,000 deposit. I said that was fine. I called the caterer. Cancel the order. That was another $2,000 gone. By 10:15, the photographer, band, and florist were canceled too. I transferred the remaining $40,000 back into my savings account and listed the custom wooden arch I'd built online for $100 or best offer. The next morning, Eli stormed into the house, face red and shaking. "What the hell, Jack? You canceled my wedding?" "I stopped paying for your wedding," I said calmly. "There's a difference." "You can't just do that." I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots. "You said you didn't want to be tied to me forever. You called my business glorified lawn work. You rejected my name. You rejected the partnership. But you'll take my money? That was out of context," he stammered. "You can't—" "Context?" I said. "Here's the context. I raised you for 12 years. I paid for everything. I tried to make you my son. Legally, professionally, every way I could. You said no to all of it. So I'm done." "You're ruining my life," he yelled. "No, Eli," I said. "I'm just not financing it anymore. You're an adult. Figure it out." Laura was crying in the doorway. "Jack, please think about what you're doing." "For years I did," I said. "And you never once had my back. Not when he stopped calling me dad. Not when he rejected the adoption. Not when he trashed my business. You defended him every single time." "He's my son," she shouted. "And I was your husband," I said. "Was." Her face went pale. "Was?" "I'm filing for divorce," I said. "You and Eli can figure out the wedding together. Tom can help. Or whoever else you want. I'm out." "You're abandoning us," Eli yelled. "You abandoned me a long time ago," I said. "I just finally noticed." That night, I packed a bag and drove to Frank's house. Within a week, I'd filed for divorce and contacted a realtor. A month later, the house was on the market. I wasn't wasting time. I blocked their numbers, deleted their emails, and tossed the notebook I'd used to track every expense into a gas station trash can. For the first time in over a decade, I didn't feel weighed down. I wasn't bitter, and I wasn't sad. I just felt free. I'd spent 12 years paying for love, respect, and loyalty that never came. And when I finally stopped paying, I realized it was the best investment I ever made. The first crack showed almost immediately after I pulled out of the wedding. Eli called Tom in a panic, begging him for help. Tom's response was exactly what I expected. "Man, I'd love to, but I'm between jobs right now. Money's tight. Maybe you could get a small loan or something." A week later, Tom stopped answering calls completely. The man Eli didn't want to erase suddenly vanished again when there was a bill to pay. With my money gone and Tom nowhere to be found, Eli and Laura scrambled to patch things together. They borrowed $5,000 from Laura's parents, even though they made it clear they weren't happy about it. Eli maxed out 2 credit cards for another $8,000. They found a VFW haul for $400, ordered trays of food from Costco, and bought decorations from the dollar store. The music was just a Bluetooth speaker and a playlist someone's friend put together. The wedding that had once been planned as a $58,000 event was now barely $6,000 total. Tom showed up late, 20 minutes after the ceremony started, wearing jeans and a wrinkled button-up. He played proud father long enough to snap photos for Facebook. "My son's big day. Proud dad. Family forever." When the bartender asked about an unpaid $400 bar tab, Tom suddenly had a work call and disappeared into the parking lot. Eli had to cover it himself. Then, less than 2 hours into the reception, Tom patted Eli on the shoulder, handed him a $50 bill for the honeymoon, and left. 2 weeks later, reality set in. Eli and Hannah moved into a small apartment, all they could afford. Bills piled up fast: rent, credit cards, utilities. Eli hadn't found a job yet. He spent most of his time pacing around the apartment, angry and bitter. "This is all Jack's fault," he snapped one night. "If he hadn't pulled out, we'd be fine." Hannah didn't let it slide. "No, Eli. Jack offered you a name and a business and a future. You threw it away." Eli glared at her. "You're supposed to be on my side." "I am," she said, "but you need to grow up. You treated him like garbage, and now you're shocked there are consequences?" He stormed out and didn't come back for hours. A few days later, while Eli was out, Hannah was using his laptop to apply for jobs and stumbled onto the old group chat, the same one I had seen. She read everything. Glorified lawn boy. Tied to Jack forever. That's what parents do. She also found messages she'd never seen before. Eli mocking her family, complaining that the wedding was not what I wanted, and calling her too boring. For 2 months after the wedding, she tried to make it work. But every time Eli blamed Jack instead of taking responsibility, every time he complained instead of getting his shit together, she saw more clearly who she'd married. Finally, she sat him down. I can't do this, she said. What are you talking about? He asked. I read the messages, she said. All of them. You lied about Jack. You said he was controlling, that he pushed you away. He offered you everything and you spat on it. And you trashed my family too. That was just venting, he said. No, she replied. That's who you are. And I'm done pretending I don't see it. She slipped her ring off, left it on the counter, and walked out. After that, things unraveled fast. Eli dropped out of grad school because he couldn't afford tuition without my help. He took a job bussing tables at a diner for $12 an hour plus tips. Half of it went straight to paying down credit card debt. He moved into a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and a leaky kitchen sink. He started showing up at my job sites. Sometimes he'd just stand on the edge of the property, waiting for me to walk over. I didn't. Other times he tried talking to the crew. I'd already told them what to do. They turned him away every time. Boss said, "You're not welcome here." He called, texted, emailed. I blocked it all. Laura's life started to crumble too. She lost her job at the dental office. The manager said they didn't want drama around the workplace after the story spread online. Without that income, she couldn't keep the house. It sold fast, and she moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment with Eli. Their relationship was strained. Laura blamed me, Eli blamed himself, and they fought constantly. Tom had disappeared again. No texts, no calls, nothing. Meanwhile, my life looked very different. Callahan and Sons exploded with new business. People respected how I handled things. Firm, direct, no drama. I landed 3 HOA contracts, a deal with a country club, and a big commercial campus job. I hired 4 new crew members and promoted Caleb to operations manager, with a $70,000 salary and full benefits. He handled clients like a pro and treated the business like it was his own. I bought a cabin up in the Poconos. 3 bedrooms, lake view, quiet mornings. Most weekends, I'd head up there after work and just sit on the porch with a cup of coffee, watching the water. It was the first time in years that I felt peace. One evening, Caleb and his girlfriend came over for a cookout. We were grilling burgers on the deck, laughing about a broken irrigation job from earlier in the week. Boss, Caleb said, I never thought I'd own a house. You showed me how to build a future. You changed my life. You did the work, I said. I just gave you the shot. A few days later, Frank told me he'd seen Eli at the grocery store. He looked rough, skinny, tired, beat up. You ever think about reaching out? No, I said. Good, Frank replied. He made his bed. Later that week, an email slipped past my spam filter. It was from Eli. Please talk to me. I hovered over the message for a few seconds and deleted it without opening it. People said I abandoned them. The truth was, I was finally taking care of myself. And without me holding everything together, their world fell apart just like I knew it would. 3 years passed. I was 49 now, and life was steady. Not exciting, not dramatic, just solid. Callahan and Sons had grown into something I could be proud of. 15 employees, $1.2 million in annual revenue, and contracts with everything from HOAS to corporate parks. Caleb had bought his first house, and I co-signed the mortgage to help him out. The kid had earned it. We were even featured in a local business magazine. From dirt to success, how a small landscaping crew became the region's go-to company. Meanwhile, Laura and Eli were still stuck in the same place. They shared a small apartment and worked retail jobs. Tom had vanished completely again. It was as if the man Eli once didn't want to erase had erased him instead. Then one morning, Frank texted me a link. You're going to want to see this. It was a video Laura had posted on Facebook. She was crying with a slideshow of old photos of me and Eli playing in the backyard and at baseball games. This man raised my son for 12 years, she said between tears. Then he abandoned us when we needed him most. He was a father until we couldn't pay him back. Now we're struggling, and he won't even answer our calls. She launched a GoFundMe at the end. It went viral, 50,000 views in 2 days. The comments were brutal. What kind of man abandons his kid? You're heartless. Once a dad, always a dad. I didn't respond. Not yet. Frank called. You're just going to let them drag you like this? Let them, I said. They'll talk themselves into a corner. 48 hours later, I posted my own video. No tears, no theatrics, just me at my kitchen table with a stack of papers. My name's Jack Callahan, I said. You've probably seen Laura's video. Here's what she didn't mention. I held up bank statements. This is 12 years of expenses. Tuition, insurance, braces, car, living costs. Over $150,000. I showed the adoption papers. I tried to make Eli my son legally. He said no because his biological father didn't want him to. Then the business agreement. I offered him 30% of the company I built from scratch. He rejected that too. Next came the group chat screenshots. Glorified lawn boy. Tied to Jack forever. That's what parents do. And finally, a voicemail from Eli when he was 17. Hey Jack, I need $200 for the weekend. I know you'll give it to me. You always do. My closing line was simple. I didn't abandon him. He told me I wasn't his father. So I stopped pretending I was. It spread faster than Laura's video. Comments flipped overnight. People reported the GoFundMe until it was gone. Laura deleted her post, but locally, the damage stuck. She lost her retail job. Eli's customers started asking for different sections. Me? School superintendent called. We respect a man who stands by his principles. 6 schools. $200,000 a year. A month later, I was invited to a charity auction for a park renovation I donated landscaping work for. Over 200 people showed up. Midway through the event, I saw them, Laura and Eli, making their way toward my table. Jack, Laura said loudly, enough for people nearby to hear. We need to talk. No, we don't, I replied, calm as ever. You owe us, she shouted. You can't just walk away from family. I stood up and addressed the crowd. For anyone wondering, I gave Laura and Eli everything. A home. A future. 12 years of showing up. He told me I wasn't his real dad. So I left. That's what he wanted. Someone near the stage clapped. Then another. Laura's face crumpled. Eli stepped forward. Jack, Dad, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was stupid. I didn't understand. You were 21 when you rejected the adoption, I said. You were 21 when you trashed my business. That wasn't a kid making mistakes. That was a man making choices. Please, he said quietly. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean you're back in my life. You made your choice. Live with it. I turned and walked away. People moved aside as I passed. A few even clapped again. I didn't look back. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at the cabin. 3 pages, handwritten. Eli apologized for everything. For the way he treated me, for letting Tom's attention cloud his judgment, for wasting what I offered him. He said he was in therapy, working 2 jobs, trying to rebuild. He didn't ask for money. He just asked if we could talk someday. I read it twice, then folded it up and put it in a drawer. One afternoon, a few months later, I stopped at a red light downtown. I glanced to my right and saw Eli through the diner window. He was wiping down tables, sleeves rolled up, face tired. Our eyes met for a few seconds. He froze like he wanted to come outside. I gave him a small nod. The light turned green and I drove away. I didn't close that door out of hate. I closed it because peace was on the other side. Eli thought I abandoned him. The truth is, I finally stopped abandoning myself. Some people spend their whole lives chasing what they lost. I built something better. He made his choice. I made mine. And I don't regret mine. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.